It's interesting how the news coming out of Tobago is just moving so fast. First, we had, you could say, dueling interview / press conferences over the THA chief administration situation. Then comes dueling interviews, well, press conferences coming from the THA executive and the minority leader. The speed, I think, at which, point and counterpoint is coming out, especially since it's not as though they're, the speakers in both instances are in the same location, debating directly against each other. I appreciate, not just as a member of the media, but as a citizen who wants to hear more, because ideally, hopefully, you would think, as more is being brought to light, we are moving towards a resolution. That's yet to be seen if we will get a proper resolution to either of these situations, and not just a set of political bacchanal. But the minority leader, as I said, responded to public statements made by the chief secretary with regards to the voice note situation in a very interesting way. Now, I can't play everything that he played. In fact, some of it might even be copyrighted. So I suggest for the entertainment value, you could, watch his press conference on his the Facebook page of the minority leader of the THA. But I have some snippets here to see some points that he made that I would like to discuss. So it's time to cue this.
Playing smart with foolishness, telling us about he and his executive would be exonerated because of some security concern, and telling us, it's clear we're not stupid, because they're believing that Tobagonians are fools and trying to take us for fools, but we are not, because you stayed silent for 21 days to answer a simple question, and now it is clear that you're now coming to be technical about it, so you're trying to shoot the messenger, because it's clear that you're trying now to say that wherever this conversation was had, that the room was bugged and that somebody surreptitiously was able to retrieve this information. But it matters not how the information was gathered, because at the end of the day, what this person was able to provide to the public is a conversation of criminality, and this person should be applauded. In fact, if I have my way, they should be awarded. And this is what the whistleblower legislation that is currently in the parliament is really trying to foster. Persons coming forward to expose criminality in government services. The chief secretary did something very clever that I sure might have missed a lot of you, and is that he went on to implicate his entire executive council, because here it is, there's an issue with an audio recording of just you and your Secretary of Education, but you went on to tell us that it is your entire executive council that you are seeking to exonerate, which means that at some point, at some level, wherever this conversation was happening, it appears that this was happening in the full view of his entire executive council. And today, I want to call on members of the executive council, every 16 members of them, and all who were present at the time. You have still some chance to free yourself, to rid yourself of the trouble to come. I'm therefore encouraging you, as these investigations, both at the level of the police begins and the level of the Integrity Commission, to go quietly, speak your truth, and let the truth set you free. Do not try to hide for anybody. Some of them I know and I hold dear as colleagues, because the first thing I said to these members, I said I would hate to see any one of us coming in here at the end of the 4-year term have to walk out in silver bracelet. By this time, their silence and their non-denial is an admittance of guilt. So there's no question about that at this point. They are guilty as charged. They have not denied that it's not their voices. They have not denied that the conversation didn't happen. Therefore, they have no other choice in this matter but to demit office. And I say no more on this. Is the arrogance of this chief secretary that something so serious is before you, and you are telling us, after staying silent for 21 days, treating us like peasants, and you are the emperor, that you will speak on your own time, after we have a recording where your voice is heard, conspiring to misuse our money, and you are telling us on your time, and we are accepting this? Tobago, we have to do better.
So some of what the minority leader of the THA, and he made that distinction there, is not the minority leader of the PNM, it's minority leader of the THA. Some of the things he said there, I said yesterday. Why does it have to be on your own time? This is not something that you could just schedule as though, it's a meeting, or it's documents to peruse at your leisure. No, there's a serious controversy that the public has a vested interest in because it implies heavily of corrupt practices. Now, initially I was disappointed in the minority leader because he was par for the course of politics in TNT, and one could say, the English-speaking world at this point in 2023, which is, you are the opposition, so you oppose everything. You oppose everything just because. There's no reasoning or ideology behind what you oppose, because you oppose everything. They could say the grass is green, you will say, no, the grass is blue, because you are the opposition. That said, now I have to question, maybe he was right to oppose everything, given how things have turned out. And this is what the Chief Secretary does not seem to understand. When you hurt your own perception, you help enhance the arguments of your critics. Because when they were crying wolf all the time, we thought, hey, Peter is just crying wolf again. Except now, we see in the fire after the smoke, so we have to reassess where we fail in saying, well, oh God, they're just opposing for opposing's sake. Maybe not. And maybe some of the harder criticisms that I thought was coming out of nowhere about the Chief Secretary, maybe there's some truth to it. Not saying that it's totally true. Probably a lot of embellishment and exaggeration. In fact, one could argue the minority leader's statements had some embellishment and exaggeration there. It's not as though the Chief Secretary is literally acting like an emperor. But the allegory, there's some truth to it. There's some truth there. And I would like to say one thing. The most important thing that I need to point out from what the minority leader said, though, he said it doesn't matter where the recording came from. And on some level, it's true. But on some level, that's not true. Because I don't know if the recording could be used in a criminal trial. I don't know if it will hold up to the standards that is required for evidence to be considered valid. I don't know if there will be any technical way to contest the audio recording. That's what the Chief Secretary is apparently seeking to do. I think the minority leader hit the nail on the head, where the Chief Secretary is saying, there's security concerns. And the recording might have potentially been done in some manner that could be considered illegal even. But I think where the minority leader is not wrong is to say, well, look, it doesn't matter with regards to that because the truth is exposed. And even if we can't use it as evidence, we could still dig into the matter. Because we some of the dirty laundry has been aired out. And even if it's lost, we could find more. Hopefully. The thing is, even if, and this is what the Chief Secretary needs to understand, even if the recording was made using some illegal means, at the end of the day, that is a separate matter. You still have your own matter to deal with. It does not exonerate you. It does not clear you of any wrongdoing. You need to prove that the recording is fake. You need to prove that you didn't say what you said. Once you cannot do that, once the recording could be reasonably assumed to be legitimately your voice, unedited in any way to change the content of what you said and what the other person, the Secretary for Education, said, then the person that made the recording, if they did anything wrong to get the recording, they will have to answer for that. But that doesn't change how we're going to view you, and potentially that's not going to change how the investigation is going to go in the grander scheme of things. And if you thought, oh, well, it's not a legal recording, so they have to, it don't mean anything. If you thought that's going to make it go away, again, I'm going to say it again. You need to grow up a little bit. You're the Chief Secretary of the THA. You are not in a kindergarten or a primary school playing games with your friends. I don't know if you're ready for the level upon which this office that you hold technically lies. It's a serious level. And maybe at the end of the day, nothing will come out of it with regards to the police investigation and the Integrity Commission. But this is one time where the court of public opinion is going to want answers, and rightfully so. And I'm not going to fault the court of public opinion from making assumptions if the wheels of justice cannot give us a definitive answer. If investigations could clear the Chief Secretary, that's great. I'll be happy for that, because the main thing that I want is the truth, the definite truth, the proven truth, so that I know for certain what happened, so I could be sure and secure with what happened in this situation. The implications are too grave for this to just be swept under the rug. So this is not one of those times where, we can't be sure, so let's just leave it alone. No. Your hand got caught in the cookie jar in a rather, brutal manner. You're exposed, for better or worse. And while I'm not going to assume that you're guilty just because you haven't rebutted the situation, to some extent, that line of thinking is probably going to be more common than you think. And I can't necessarily think of an argument to dissuade people from that, because by all rights, it looks bad that you're being so silent and that you're trying to attack the messenger and attack how the message was delivered, as opposed to trying to refute the contents themselves. It's rather spectacular to see how things have unfolded in Tobago. And I would just like to say, for the record, caller from San Fernando, this does not prove me right. I remember you said, you told me to give them a chance, and now you have to say, this does not prove me right, because I did not think things went to this level. And it doesn't have to be on the level of corruption. I'm just talking about the inability to manage their own situation, their own crises, which to some extent you could say is self-inflicted.